Hey there, history buffs! Today we're diving headfirst into the Whiskey Rebellion, a defining moment in the early years of the United States. So picture this, it's the late 1700s, and America is fresh off its victory against Great Britain. The newly formed nation is eager to flex its independence muscles, but there's a teensy problem: debt. The Revolutionary War left the young nation drowning in debt. To solve this, Alexander Hamilton, the brainy Secretary of the Treasury, came up with a plan. A tax on whiskey. Seems simple enough, right? Well, not so fast. You see, back then, whiskey wasn't just a drink, it was like liquid gold, especially for farmers out on the frontier. These hard-working folks relied on whiskey as a form of currency, trading it for goods and services. It was their economic lifeline. So, when the government slapped a tax on their beloved whiskey, the farmers were understandably upset. They felt like the government was targeting them, the backbone of the nation, to solve a problem they didn't create. The whiskey tax felt like a slap in the face to these farmers who had just fought tooth and nail for freedom. They argued that the tax was unfair, and that the government was overstepping its boundaries. To them, it felt eerily similar to the taxes imposed by the British monarchy, the very thing they had just fought to overthrow. Now imagine you're a farmer in western Pennsylvania, the heart of whiskey production. You've poured your blood, sweat, and tears into your land, growing grain and distilling it into whiskey. This whiskey isn't just a drink for you, it's your livelihood, your way of life. The government's new tax feels like a direct attack on your ability to provide for your family. You've already faced hardship and uncertainty in this new nation, and now the government seems to be adding insult to injury. Across the western frontier, resentment towards the whiskey tax simmered and boiled. Farmers, already wary of the distant federal government, saw this tax as a sign of tyranny. They argued that the government was ignoring their needs and imposing its will on them without representation. Protests erupted, with farmers refusing to pay the tax, and even resorting to intimidation tactics against tax collectors. The situation grew increasingly tense, with whispers of rebellion filling the air. The farmers felt that their voices weren't being heard in the halls of power. They had risked their lives for liberty, and now it seemed like that liberty was being threatened by their own government. The stage was set for a dramatic showdown between the fledgling federal government and its own citizens. As tensions reached a boiling point, the simmering discontent among the farmers morphed into outright rebellion. Groups like the Whiskey Boys emerged, taking matters into their own hands. They tarred and feathered tax collectors, intimidated those who complied with the tax, and even resorted to violence. The rebellion was a cry for recognition, a desperate attempt to make their grievances heard by the distant government in Philadelphia. The Whiskey Rebellion wasn't just about whiskey, it was about fundamental questions of power, representation, and the limits of government authority. The farmers felt that the government had broken a sacred trust, and they were determined to fight for their rights, just as they had fought for independence from Britain. The rebellion posed a serious challenge to the newly established federal government. It tested the government's ability to enforce its laws and maintain order. The fate of the young nation hung in the balance as the rebellion escalated. The news of the rebellion reached President George Washington, a man not known for tolerating disorder. He understood the farmers' concerns, but believed that defying the law and resorting to violence threatened the very fabric of the nation he had fought so hard to build. Washington decided to take a stand, demonstrating the strength and resolve of the federal government. Gathering a formidable force of nearly 13,000 militiamen, Washington himself donned his old military uniform and marched towards western Pennsylvania. This show of force was unprecedented in the young nation's history. It sent a clear message that the government would not tolerate armed rebellion and was willing to use force to uphold its authority. The sight of Washington, the revered hero of the Revolution, leading troops against American citizens, sent shockwaves through the nation. It was a stark reminder that this new government, founded on the principles of liberty and self-governance, also possessed the power to quell dissent and enforce its laws. The Whiskey Rebellion, though ultimately quelled with minimal bloodshed, served as a pivotal moment in American history, highlighting the delicate balance between individual liberty and the need for a strong and unified nation.